Samson Kambalu has come a very long way since he was born in Malawi 33 years ago. His early years were dominated by his father, a nattily dressed medical assistant who liked to read Nietzsche while sitting on the toilet. Like his dad, Samson started out dreaming of becoming a doctor, but after clawing his way into Malawi's most prestigious boarding school, he abandoned science for the arts and ended up living here in Britain, an award-winning conceptual artist, and now the author of a book about his upbringing called The Jive Talker. That's a reference to his father, and subtitled rather intriguingly, since it doesn't seem to be about that at all, How to Get a British Passport. Welcome to Outlook, Samson.
Thank you.
Let's start with the toilet. I mean, this is where your father liked to read Nietzsche. The toilet seems to have been a very important room in your house.
Yeah, because I think that for my father, that was the only private space, maybe. And so he would retreat there to have some peace and quiet, so he could read. But he also added a philosophy to it. There was a reason. He thought that the greatest ideas came from the toilet. You know, Martin Luther conceived the Reformation on the toilet. So there was something, yeah.
So he had plenty of reading material in the toilet.
Lots of books in the toilet.
He doesn't sound as though he was a very typical Malawian civil servant. I mean, I don't know many, admittedly, but he wasn't, the normal mould.
He was ruthlessly progressive, if you know what I mean. He was very progressive, and so actually he wanted us to have nothing to do with the native ways, if you know what I mean. He was a thorough modern man who wanted to bring up his family as such. There's a good quotation by Livingstone which says, if the natives are not elevated by their contacts with Europeans, they're sure to perish. And my dad followed that, maybe. It's kind of he realized that in order for us to get anywhere, we had to take the new path. Leave sight of the seashore, if you like.
And this was why, was it he was happy that you worked so hard to get into what's been called the Eton of Africa, the Kamuzu Academy, an incredibly prestigious school?
Yeah, when I got in there, even my father was jealous.
He was jealous, because it was staffed by Oxbridge-educated teachers. I mean, it was really run on the model of a British public school, was it?
Yes, the president spent about a third of the education budget on this school, so when you went in there, it was like incredible. You know, I've been to Eton, and I wasn't impressed.
It was better than Eton.
Absolutely, I think it's a much more beautiful place, and I spent 6 fantastic years there.
So you've fitted in just fine with your progressive mentality and outlook?
Yeah, I think my dad did prepare me well for it. To tell you the truth, that to become what I am today, it's more than just Comes Academy. I think you need a good grounding as a child. You know, and my father introduced me to books, to Nietzsche, to all sorts of things as a child. So by the time I went to Comes Academy, it was just like another step. So it wasn't too bewildering.
Did you sort of follow in your father's footsteps? I mean, would you describe yourself, either then or now, also as ruthlessly progressive?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, it's just about where I'm going, and I have no interest whatsoever in where I'm coming from. In terms of, I think I'm interested in meeting new challenges all the time, in learning new things and improving myself and making a difference for myself. And
this seems to be why you have very mixed feelings about your father, don't you? Partly because he contracted AIDS, which was a death sentence both for him and for your mother. But also, I was very struck in your book. You were writing about when he died, you were very upset. He abandoned his progressive Western outlook because he started speaking in the local language and not in English.
Yeah, that was a letdown. I was really disappointed, absolutely, because this is a man who spoke the Queen's English, and he was, when he was dying, he lost his mind, and he went back to his childhood, and he dropped English, and he was mourning, crying in Chichewa, and that was a disappointment, because you think you would die speaking English. But I hear these things happen, that when people lose their minds, they retreat to childhood for some reason. So, but I was there, because if you can see from the scene, is it when he's dancing in this in traditional rhythm, when he's lost his mind.
He was dancing as well. You didn't like that?
No, so
But Samson, you seem.
I did another song in 3/4, Saint Saul, Dance Macabre.
You went over him with a sort of Western. But you seem incredibly. Well, you've said you are totally deracinated. I mean, have you rejected your African roots completely?
I didn't have to, because I don't know any different, really. I mean, that's the truth. I mean, we like to, when you're at the university, the lecturers like to say, oh, embrace this, African that. And the only thing I knew when I grew up was the Shakespeare on the diptych.
But do you dislike? Some people would have reacted against that and have gone in search of their roots because that's their culture. But it seems as though,
I don't dislike it. I just embrace what I became. I think it's not my fault that my ancestors lost the war with the British somewhere, and the British imposed their language on us. And, by the time I was growing up, I didn't have any problems that my ancestors had, namely juggling between the West and what's African. For me, what I grew up in our house was what was there, namely, we had George Arney we had Charles Dickens in
the toilet.
And these are the things I know. I don't even feel that I'm abandoning anything. I'm just being what I am.
And your conceptual art, I've had a chance to have a look at it. It's a bit odd, some of it. I mean, there's one very short piece, for instance, where there's a picture of a tree and you're laughing. But I mean, this kind of conceptual art, would that be understood in Malawi at all, do you think?
Yeah, I think conceptual art works on many levels. If it's accessible, if it's socially accessible, yeah, it can be understood. Like, I think I was the first person to hold a conceptual art exhibition in Malawi, which was footballs plastered in the pages of the Bible. And when these kids came into this gallery, it was the first time for them to be at any art exhibition. But they knew what I was driving at. Right. They understood footballs plastered in pages of the Bible being kicked about the room.
So you are the Malawian avant-garde, you could say. Right, you're speechless. I'm going to stop you there. Samson, thank you so much for coming into the Outlook studio. Living up to your birth name, which I understand means don't worry, be happy.
Yeah,
You've lightened up the studio. Samson, thank you very much.